So, we're about to dive into a bunch of stories that honestly seem like they have nothing in common. We've got a time traveler, a king who's obsessed with a prophecy, a doctor with an impossible choice. I mean, what could they possibly share? But when we look closer, they actually come together to give us this incredible unified view of what it means to be human. So, let's start piecing it all together.
Okay, so here's the big idea that's going to guide us. Think of each of these stories as a single colored piece of glass. By itself, it's just one perspective, one color. But when we start putting them together, a much bigger, way more illuminating picture starts to emerge.
And that brings us to our central puzzle, right? How in the world can a time traveler, a king, a doctor, a boy with a scarred face, and two young girls all connect? They're separated by time, by culture, by everything. Well, let's start building that window and find out. Our very first piece of glass is all about escape. And it's a theme that, let's be honest, probably hits home for a lot of us. That deep down desire to just get away from the pressures of our own reality. So let me introduce you to Charlie. He's a regular 31-year-old guy who is convinced he's found a secret third level at Grand Central Station that's a doorway to the 1890s. Now, his psychiatrist has a name for this, a waking dream wish fulfillment, and that diagnosis is so important. It's not just that Charlie's unhappy, it's that the modern world itself, a world filled with fear and worry, creates this powerful need to find a refuge. And for Charlie, this wasn't just some daydream. He found what he believed was actual, tangible proof. A newspaper, The World, dated June 11, 1894. This little detail just shows you how deep his desire went. He didn't just imagine a more peaceful time. His mind built a whole new reality he could step into, a place he felt was safer.
But, not all escapes are about running to the past. Sometimes it's a frantic sprint away from a future that's already been predicted. For the man they called the Tiger King, his entire life revolved around this single number, 100. See, an astrologer told him a tiger would be the cause of his death. So what did he do? He made it his life's mission to kill 100 of them, basically trying to outrun fate itself.
And this makes you wonder, doesn't it? Was the king truly being brave, facing his destiny head on? Or was this whole obsessive hunt just another form of escape? An attempt to run from a future he couldn't control by dominating everything around him? It really makes you think about what's hiding behind our biggest ambitions. Okay, let's slot a totally different color of glass into our window now. Because while some people try to escape reality, others are forced to confront it, and in the absolute hardest ways you can imagine.
This is where Dr. Sadao comes in. He's this brilliant Japanese surgeon, and it's the middle of World War II. One night, an American prisoner of war washes up right on the beach by his house. Suddenly, he's facing this impossible choice. His duty as a doctor tells him to save this wounded man's life, but his duty as a patriot says he has to turn his enemy over to the army. So with this man's life literally in his hands, what does Dr. Sadao do? He makes a choice. He secretly operates on the soldier, nurses him back to health, and then, in this amazing act of compassion, he helps him escape. His basic humanity, it was just stronger than all the hatred of war. So Dr. Sadao had to confront a human-made reality, the reality of war. But some realities are so massive they challenge our entire species. The story Journey to the End of the Earth really puts our existence into a staggering perspective. 650 million years ago, Antarctica was part of a warm supercontinent. And us, all of human civilization, about 12,000 years, we're just a few seconds on that geological clock, a blip.
So why Antarctica? Why does it matter so much? Well, because its incredibly simple, pure ecosystem acts like a giant magnifying glass for the whole planet. Tiny little changes there, like what happens to microscopic phytoplankton, can have enormous consequences for the global climate. It forces us to look our impact right in the face. All right, the next few pieces we're adding to our window, they're tough. They add some of the most painful and poignant colors to the picture. These are the stories of people who are marked by how others see them, people dealing with the scars of prejudice. First, there's Derry. He's a 14-year-old boy, and one side of his face was badly burned by acid. He's become bitter and withdrawn because he truly believes his scar is the only thing people see, and it's heartbreaking. His view is simple. People aren't just put off by his face, they are actively afraid of it, and that fear has completely isolated him. Derry's scar was physical, something you could see. But prejudice leaves other kinds of wounds. This quote comes from Zitkala-Sa, an American Indian girl who was forced into a boarding school. In her culture, only mourners or cowards had short hair. So when the school chopped off her long braids, it wasn't just a haircut. It was a deep cultural wound, an attack on her very identity. And then we have the story of Bama, a young Tamil Dalit girl. One day, she sees an elder from her community carrying a food packet by a string, being super careful not to let it touch him. At first, she thinks it's the funniest thing she's ever seen, but her laughter just dies when she finds out why. He was considered untouchable, and the landlord from the upper caste believed the food would be polluted if the man actually held the packet.
What started as a funny little scene turned into this moment of pure rage and shame for Bama. But her brother gave her a path forward. He told her, look, because of the community we were born into, people strip us of our dignity. But if we study, if we make progress, we can throw those indignities away. That was how they could reclaim their respect.
Okay, we've now gathered all the different colored pieces of our window. We've seen stories of escape, of confronting hard truths, and of the deep scars that prejudice leaves behind. So now it's time to step back and finally see the complete picture they create together.
When you look at them all at once, you see this incredible spectrum of human struggle. It goes from Charlie's very personal need for a safe place, all the way to the collective weight of our planet's future. You have the internal battles of the Tiger King and Dr. Sadao against destiny and war, and then the external wounds of isolation and prejudice carried by Derry, Zitkala-Sa, and Bama.
So yeah, each story is its own distinct color. Each one represents a unique struggle with its own pain, its own questions. But when you see them all together, they form one single, cohesive, and deeply moving picture of the universal challenges that really define what it is to be human.
In the end, these narratives, these vistas, they're more than just stories, aren't they? They're reflections of our own world, our own lives. They're basically holding up a mirror to us. And so, the final question isn't about them, it's about us. What color, what struggle, what piece of glass does your own story add to this incredible window on humanity?